So, what do we all think?
Well,
That was really cool. That's sort of like, I really like the kind of amalgamation of like indie and pop punk. I think it's really cool. I think it could be absolutely butchered, and that wasn't that. So I'm happy with that. I like that.
Yeah, I think it was quite nice. It reminded me a little bit of bands like Cute Is What We Aim For.
Yeah, I get that.
Without the very high-pitched singing, without the vocals are really the only thing that, struck me as a major difference between them. I think it's a fun, lighthearted song. It has cool guitar solos. I guess I quite like it. It's not something that I would probably listen to. I don't want to say trite, but I find like it's something that's been heard. So they're doing it well, but I don't think they're doing anything particularly revolutionary. And that's perfectly acceptable. It's cool.
Yeah, I'd agree. I also think their band name is really cool.
Yeah, the band Camino. I quite like that.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
The thing is, what I like about these guys is that you're right, Jacopo, in the sense of there are a lot of other bands who've done something similar, in that sense. But these guys have added, I think, a slightly more rocky version onto that. If you could hear like some of those guitar solos, you can hear some of those also that sort of like heavier drums, heavier guitars in certain elements, and I quite like that. That's what makes it for me different than the normal, because that could easily be a pop song, that could easily be something in the charts, but that's what makes it different to that for me personally, and that's what made it so enjoyable for me to listen to, and that's why I decided to choose it this week. Really,
you make an interesting point, because sorry, Jacopo, when I used to work at like a talent agency or booking agency for bands, they always used to say before you sign someone, can you imagine it at a main stage at a festival or on BBC Radio? That is how to measure the success of whether it has potential, and that ticked all those boxes.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just coming at it, I guess, from the lens of someone who generally doesn't like popular music.
That's a good point.
I mean, like I said, I acknowledge that it's good. Like, I acknowledge that pop songs are good if they are, because some pop singers, some, very mainstream artists are good at times. They come up with some very good songs sometimes. It's not necessarily bad because it's popular, but in general, it's not really the genre that I would listen to.
Fair enough. So what do you think about ratings then, Jacopo? What do you want to tell me?
So, in comparison to my previous ratings, I think this will seem a little bit low, but 5 is an average, and I think maybe I'll give it a 5.5, maybe even a 6, because it was, very well executed. So, trying to be as objective as possible, I'll give it a 5.5.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'd give it I'm kind of like in danger of just giving the same ratings for every song here, but I'd probably give it between a 6 and a 6.5. So let's go 6.25. I think I would have gone lower, but I think in comparison to other bands of the similar ilk, they are much better, and that's why I gave them above a 6.
That's fair enough. I've gone for a 6.5, to be fair. I mean, I like it a lot, but I don't think I'd actively listen to it all the time. So that's why I probably wouldn't rate it a 7. But it has elements of what I really do like. So therefore I have given it that extra 0.5 in that sense. But
Sounds good.
Yeah, cool. So let's move on to the next track. Who have we got up next?
So I think we have August Burns Red. So August Burns Red, this, for two of us here, I think is one of our absolute favorite bands.
Oh,
I think we've each seen them probably together, I think 3 times. And I think I might have seen them about 5 times.
Yeah.
So,
same, I think.
Yeah, they're I've met them a couple of times. I obsessed over them when I was younger. this is quite a heavy intro, I think, for them. So I just wanted to recall something we said earlier about, bands kind of changing their sound. And while this is slightly different from, I guess, the usual August Burns Red, I think one of their characteristics is exactly that sound and that identity. So if you notice the albums, they all have exactly the same graphic design since the very beginning. So they've always had, I think, a very clear idea of what they wanted to do. And so they've stuck with their, very good, in my opinion, brand of metal, I would say. I would call it metalcore, if you will. But I think they're one of the biggest bands in metal at the moment. I think they have the respect they deserve. And this is actually, I guess, an extension, a B-side, if you will, to their latest album, Defender, which is a little different. So give it a go, guys.